Welcome to the coming apocalypse. Evangelist and pastor Paul Begley will take you on a journey into the end times prophecy. He'll examine current world events and explain how they relate to the end times. For decades, Pastor Begley has provided people all over the world with an understanding of today's world events from a biblical perspective. Now here's your host, Pastor Paul Begley.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Welcome to the coming apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley. And if I look a little tired, it's just because I've had no sleep, okay? Absolutely. We got the air last night. No sleep. What? Guys, are you serious? Can we put a shout out right now? NobleGoldInvestment.com. First of all, we got a Fair Use Act. In good faith, this work contains fair use for copyrighted, non-copyrighted images from the public domain and the web for the non-commercial, non-profit, educational purposes only. This broadcast is free of charge. That's insane. Well, and let me just say real quick here, we take the current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. And wow, there is so much going on from the Bible. I don't even know. I'd have to have 20 markers to show you where everything is already in the scriptures. It's incredible. We're in the last days. NobleGoldInvestment.com. That's NobleGoldInvestment.com. Your IRA, gold IRA is what you need. Go to NobleGoldInvestment.com. Use the promo code Paul Begley. And look, guys, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, okay? You can't. You got to diversify. And the stock market, all-time high, you know, has got to start to come down some. So you really don't put your money there. You want to put it somewhere else. Pick up the phone and call 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347. And pick up the phone and call NobleGoldInvestment.com. Ask for Colin Plume. One of his staff members will help you. But it's time to look at this, guys, because you need to diversify. It's a Christian company. They're family-owned, wonderful people, and they're really doing a great job with all of the events. They got the Trump coin, the Trump silver dollar. They got all the different things, the Q coin, all that stuff. But you really need to know, what do you do when you retire? What do you do? Your IRA, your 401k, where do you put it? Do you put it in precious metals or maybe part of it there? You know, call NobleGoldInvestment.com. All right, guys, let me tell you something right now. There's a lot going on. We had a powerful program last night. We're back. If you missed us last night, we're back here in the Salvation Station, but just for a short amount of time because we're going to Canada this weekend. We'll be preaching Friday night. I'll be preaching Friday night, July 5th, Saturday night, July 6th, and Sunday night, July 7th. And Sunday morning, Dr. Everett Lewis will be bringing the message. But we'll be up there in London, Ontario. And I don't have the information in front of me. Brock, do you have the information in front of you on the location there? Go to my website. Maybe one of the moderators, God bless all the moderators, maybe one of them will grab it and put the address to the church actually in the press, in the chat room. If you guys can do that, put the address of the church in the chat room so that folks know right where to go. If you live up in Canada, you really need to come to this conference. If you live in America and you got a passport, you're in Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, okay, Pennsylvania, even New York, you can drive straight over. Be in London, Ontario within about 2 hours. This would be great if you'd come and be a part of this. It's going to be a powerful program. I mean, a powerful revival up there. It's a conference. And it's our first time at that church, but we really look forward to being there. It's going to be a great time in the Lord, okay? Praise the Lord. All right, a lot of love coming in from Adrian, Michigan. Hello, Pastor. Love from Adrian, Michigan. Pastor Pete says he's praying for you. Next time you come, we'll make you some lasagna. I love it. You guys are going to go Italian on me. I love that. Matter of fact, this cup was given to me by Pastor Pete Valdez in Adrian, Michigan. And so a little love for Michigan. Ed, And Suzanne, little love out there to you guys, way up there in the northern part, okay? Way up there in the northern part. We look forward to seeing you. Yes, praise God. We're going to come right back in just a moment with the word of the Lord, but first let's break in with a song. We're going to need it. There's a lot going on. Brock, shelter me, Lord. There's a lot going on. Shelter me, Lord. We'll be right back, guys. Get a seat. Everybody get ready. Are you serious? Are you seriously serious? Something biblical. The earth can shake, the sky come down, the mountains all fall to the ground. But I will fear none of those things. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Dark waters rise, the thunder pounds, the wheels of war are going round, and all the walls are crumbling. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Hide me underneath your wings. Hide me deep inside your heart. In your refuge, cover me. The world can shake, but Lord, I'm making you my hiding place. The wind will blow, the rain can pour, the deluge break, the tempest roars. But in that storm, my spirit sings. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Hide me underneath your wings. Hide me deep inside your heart. In your refuge, cover me. The world can shake, but Lord, I'm making you my hiding place. Now on that day, you call for me. Someday when time no more shall be, and I say, death, where is your sting? Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Hide me underneath your wings. Hide me deep inside your heart. In your refuge, cover me. The world can shake, but Lord, I'm making you my hiding place. Now on that day, you call for me. Someday when time no more shall be, well, I say, death, where is your sting? Shelter Serious? Are you serious? Guys, today is the total solar eclipse of the sun. What? Total solar eclipse of the sun. And it is over South America. Let me read some scripture here to help you understand. The Bible says there shall be signs in Luke 21:25. Therefore there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and distress of nations with perplexity, the sea, the waves roaring, and men's hearts will fail them for fear, for looking after those things coming upon the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Then shall we see the sign. Then shall we see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. When these things begin to come to pass, he said, look up, lift up your head. Your redemption draweth nigh. The solar eclipse over South America, the great South American total solar eclipse over Argentina and Chile. But almost the entire continent of South America is going to see the solar eclipse. Nobody else will. Nobody else will, unless you're one of the ships in the middle of the ocean. Nobody else will. This is all about the tensions rising around the world as this solar eclipse is above us today. And then just a few days, in 2 weeks from now, there will be a blood moon at the midnight hour. A blood moon over Jerusalem, the entire Holy Land. And what does these signs mean? The Bible said in the book of Acts, for there shall be signs in the sun, the moon. Of course, we quoted there, but the Bible says the sun shall be turned to darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord shall come. Guys, these signs are in the heavens, and they're signs for the last days. And certainly there's all kinds of events. There's not just these signs, but many others, folks. Let me give you an example. In the book of Joel, it says in verse 28, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams, the young men shall see visions, and also upon the servants and on the handmaidens up in those days will I pour out my spirit. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. And the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord has said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. My question is to you, are you part of the remnant? Are you part of the remnant? We want to say hi to everybody watching today live at Periscope. Want to say hi to everybody listening on the direct radio line. That number is, of course, 605-472-5791. That's 605-472-5791. The access code over there is 652-645-pound. That's 652-645-pound if you're listening on the direct radio line. Can I say hi to everybody watching live at New Live Stream, and everybody with us at my website at paulbegleyprophecy.com, and all of you that are watching on Roku satellite television, and all 1,267 of you who have joined us live at YouTube. Plus, people will see this on Facebook, Twitter, Blogger, and it also the podcast on Google Sound. And I can't remember where else this thing could end up. But we just want to say God bless all of you for this broadcast. Okay, here we go. Here's what's going on. Earthquakes are definitely happening as the solar eclipse. This could be a very dangerous day as far as earthquakes or volcanic eruptions or strange weather. And we've already got a lot of that happening. I'll tell you that in a minute. Strange, weird stuff. But earthquakes. Let's go to the earthquake It went. Where did my earthquake map go all of a sudden? Are you serious? Are you serious? It just disappeared? We'll get it back. Hang on. Brock, hang on, okay? Because for some reason, that one just disappeared on me. But it just takes a couple seconds to get it right back, okay? And get it updated. Looks like there's been 38 earthquakes. Here we go. You ready for these? Chile! Chile, that's right. I said Chile, where the solar eclipse is going to be in a totality, has just been hit with a 4.0 just now. They're right there at the top. And Brock, that solar eclipse goes right through there. You see that? Boom. And look at this. There's another one right next to it over there. Whose is that one? That one just happened just before that. Argentina. Is the eclipse happening right now? Is the eclipse happening right now? I mean, this is really weird, guys. Look at this. Go back to this map. This is really weird because the last two earthquakes to hit the earth is right there. 4.1 Argentina and then 4.0 Chile. Now, Brock, put that map up again of the total solar eclipse. It goes right through there. Now, didn't I just tell you have to watch for earthquakes during solar eclipses? This is insane. I don't know if it's going on right now. Look where this is. That's right where you have a 90 miles. You see that real dark pink area right there, Brock, inside there? That is what's called that's the totality area. You have to be right in that dark pink area to see the sun completely turn dark. Midnight, just like midnight. Now, I don't know what time it's exactly starting. Does anybody know? Can I just look in the chat room real fast? As Brock is showing you. But the earthquake, the solar eclipse just happened. The earthquakes just now hit right where the solar eclipse will go through its totality. It's going to happen today. And so we need someone to look this up for us. I had this in front of me. I am reading the chat right now. Pence plane called back to D.C. for an unspecified emergency. Okay, I'll get that right now. Somebody look that up while I'm looking at it. We got breaking news, Brock, coming out of, if you come to me to this other screen, breaking news coming right now happening. Vice President Mike Pence's plane has been called back to Washington, D.C. for an unspecified emergency. I repeat, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, his plane has been called back to the White House. He's been summoned back to the White House for an undisclosed emergency. This doesn't happen. You never stop a plane, a vice presidential plane. I don't care what kind of emergency you got. Generally, you let the vice president keep going where he's going. He was on his way to New Hampshire to discuss the state's opioid crisis when Air Force Two, his plane, was called for an immediate turnaround. Vice President Mike Pence's airplane, Air Force Two, was diverted from New Hampshire back to Washington after being called back for an undisclosed emergency. Pence was scheduled to visit Salem, New Hampshire on today to participate in a roundtable discussion and deliver remarks on the opioid crisis and illegal drug flow in New Hampshire. But shortly before the vice president was scheduled to arrive, an announcer at the event told the crowd Air Force Two has been diverted because of an emergency. We do have a situation where the vice president was called back to Washington, D.C. Randy Gentry, a representative of Pence's office, told the crowd, saying the event was being canceled. A spokesman for Pence's office said the vice president needs to go back to the White House and said the vice president will return to New Hampshire at a later date. President Trump is already in Washington at the White House, but has no public events scheduled. So what's going on? Sources at the Capitol Hill and the White House could not immediately provide details when asked what type of emergency has happened. First question is the president okay? I mean, that's got to be your first question. Very first question. Is the president of the United States okay? And I mean, until someone can answer that question, first, that's the first question. Because actually, the Vice President of the United States' number one job, absolute number one job, is to be ready to fill in for the presidency. Now, he can be advisor to a lot of stuff, but he's only got one job description, guys. To be available for the presidency. So we do need to find out if President Trump is okay. I assume he is. I'm going to assume he is. And if so, then what could be so big of an emergency that you turn Air Force Two around, Brock? What in the world, other than the president is incapacitated, if that's not the case, which I don't think it is, then what in the world is so huge? Because mostly anything else you bring in your joint, if it's military, you bring in the Joint Chiefs. If it's catastrophic, you probably put the vice president somewhere else. If it's a terror attack on Washington, you don't bring him back there. So what in the world could it be? Okay. Someone says they can't see the chat over at Periscope. I don't know what to do about that. Brock, do we have any other information? I guess let's keep this line of communication open. Everybody's watching. I just checked my phone before we came on the air to see if Stephen Harper, Dr. Anthony Harper, if he was at the White House today. He's not. He will be back at the White House next week. We'll get some live reports from him next week. But again, Dr. Harper, right, not at the White House today. But he will be back at the White House next week. We'll get some reports from him. Okay, we just got an update. The Great South American Eclipse begins at 4:38 p.m. Eastern. It ends at 4:44, so it's only 6 minutes. Thank you so much. That's 4:38 to 4:44. But what's really weird about this, let's go back to the earthquake map. Thank you so much, whoever threw that up there. Thank you so much for that. Let's go back to the earthquakes, Brock, because I feel something. Do you feel that? There's something going on, guys. There's something going on. The Great South American Eclipse is today, July 2nd. I told you God is the one that puts these solar eclipses and blood moons in motion. He is directing them. Nobody else is. God is directing. And oh, by the way, just let Beto know, God is in charge of climate change. Just let Beto know that in case he didn't know. Now, real quick here, look what's going on. Brock, show them again the solar eclipse, and then we're going to show you where the last two earthquakes have just hit. This is really quite strange, but here it is. There's your Great South American Eclipse. Look where the totality goes, right over Argentina and Chile, right in that area. Now, let's go to the earthquake map, Brock. Check this out. Amazing to me. You can't plan this out, but look where the last two earthquakes have hit the earth. 4.1 right there, Argentina. See the blue dot? Argentina. And the other one, 4.0, Chile. This is right where the total solar eclipse is going over, okay? So what is the odds? That is the strangest thing in the world. I mean, that's just unbelievable that that's where the last two earthquakes, 4.1 and 4.0, must keep an eye. I told you earthquakes, solar eclipses, you got a lot of pulling, you got a lot of stress, and lunar eclipses are even worse than solar eclipses. Lunar or blood moons are way worse on gravitational pull. But because of Nibiru or Planet X or planet number 9 or whatever this is up there, the goblin or the binary system or a dwarf star or whatever it is, it's pulling. And we got waves of energy. And somebody just sent me an email, or somebody over at Periscope told me before the broadcast, that not only did blue Kool-Aid capture these waves of energy last night, but on Sunday, Dutch Sense also captured the beginning of these wave of energy. Now, this might have something to do with why we're having earthquakes, but I really think the solar eclipse, this has really got something to do with it. Let's go back to the earthquake map because I want to show you what else is going on around the world. Here's the rest of the earthquakes around the globe, besides those two right there at the top, Argentina and Chile, where the great solar eclipse is going to happen. Let's go all the way down and take a look at the last 24 hours. Quickly, I'll just hit the big ones, but 5.9 earthquake there in the Philippines, 6.0 Vanuatu, 4.4 Iran, 5.2 New Zealand, 5.0 Indonesia. Okay, so you can see where that one's going. And 4.9 Tonga, 4.8 Indonesia again, 4.9 Tonga, 4.4 Indonesia, 4.3 Japan, 4.1 Iran, 4.3 Fiji, 5.2 the Kermadec Islands, 4.8 New Zealand, 3.7 that Hawaii, that volcano in Hawaii. No. 5.6 the Solomon Islands, 5.8 Carlsberg Ridge, 5.1 Papua New Guinea, and then 4.1 Argentina, and 4.0 Chile. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The solar eclipse will happen. Seriously, guys, the signs are in the heavens everywhere. Okay, so check this out. But wait, there's more. Let's go to the solar, besides the solar eclipse. Let's see if we can find out what's going on in solar space around the globe. If I can find it quickly. Here we go. The solar winds are blowing at 305. That's 305 kilometers per second, so that's normal. The sunset solar eclipse is today over Chile and Argentina. That will be spectacular on this July 2nd. It will create a black hole in the sky just before sunset in those two South American countries. They're already being hit with earthquakes, okay? And we scroll on down, we'll find out there's some more information for us. Fireballs, 60 of them. What? 60 fireballs, 60 last night reported in the skies all over the globe that came from every different direction. Unbelievable. Near Earth misses. And then here we go. Today, July 2nd, there's going to be two of them. One is 2019 MJ2. That one's going to miss us by 18 lunar distance. The other one is 2019 MD1. That one's going to miss us by 10.3 lunar distance. Okay, no problems there. We're going to be fine. All right. So the Earth is shaking and quaking. The asteroids are breaking. My mind is aching. And the Vice President of the United States has been turned around in mid-flight on his way to New Hampshire from Washington, D.C. Before he landed, he was emergency. Let's go there now. Vice President Mike Pence, an unspecified emergency. The Vice President of the United States flying on Air Force Two is called back to Washington, D.C. for an unspecified emergency. You just don't do that to the vice president. I mean, even the president, you don't turn people around. Usually, now for the vice president, they have one job and one job only: to be ready to become the president of the United States or to fill in for the president if he's incapacitated. That is your job. Everything else is just, window dressing, helping out, advisory. For the Vice President of the United States to have his plane turn around and go back to Washington for an emergency is chilling. Now, I don't know what we need to find out what's going on with the President of the United States. That's first. Is the President of the United States okay? That's first. If he is, if that's fine, then what could be so important? Immediately you got to think of Iran. Immediately. So we've got to see, has there been a ship attacked in the Straits of Hormuz? Has there been a missile attack? Is Israel attacking Iran? Is there a preemptive strike going on? Iran just yesterday guys said they were going to destroy Israel in a half hour. So, Brock, back to this story again with Mike Pence, and that's where we're at. I'm going to read this for you. Take a look at this picture. But the Vice President of the United States is on Air Force Two. Someone is saying, I heard President Trump is okay. That's good news. But the Vice President of the United States of America on Air Force Two, flying into New Hampshire for an open session. His plane has been called back to Washington for an unspecified emergency. You just don't do that unless the President of the United States is incapacitated or you're on the verge of World War III or something. Well, this guy, Mojtaba Jonor, he's sort of like the John Bolton of Iran. He's the leader of their intelligence agency. He just said that if the United States hits Iran, that Iran will wipe Israel off the face of the earth in a half hour. Will completely destroy the nation of Israel in a half hour. Now that took place last night. Back to the article with the Vice President. Vice President Mike Pence's airplane was diverted from New Hampshire back to Washington on today, just minutes ago, after being called back for an undisclosed emergency. This is breaking news happening right now. The Vice President scheduled to visit Salem, New Hampshire on today to participate in a roundtable discussion and deliver remarks on the opioid crisis and illegal drug flow out of New Hampshire. But shortly before the Vice President was scheduled to arrive while still in air on Air Force Two, the announcer over the event told the crowd that Air Force Two had been diverted because of an emergency. Well, is there something wrong with the plane? That's another question. We do have a situation where the Vice President has been called back to Washington, to the White House, said Randy Gentry, a representative of Pence's office. He told the crowd, saying the event is canceled. So now we understand the Vice President is being summoned back to the White House. President Trump is in the White House, but no public event has been scheduled with the President. And the Vice President has been called out of mid-flight to come back to the White House for an emergency situation. I really feel very nervous about this, Brock. I feel very, very nervous. I want to welcome all 2,100 of you with us. This is a breaking news story for sure. We're going to stay on top of it. And guess what? It's happening the day of a total solar eclipse. The signs are in the heavens. Now, let me read to you what's going on out of the Jerusalem Post quickly. Syria accuses Israel of state terrorism because of those airstrikes they did last night in Syria. We were sharing this with you last night. Pray for me, guys. The ear is hurting. Of course, it's going to take some time before we get all this fluid and this ear infection out. So I can't hear hardly out of that one ear. And my wife would say, well, you can't hear out one ear and you don't listen out of the other. What? But anyway, we're not going to joke around about this. Seriously, I got an inner ear infection, and it is better, but it's not over. Anyway, widespread airstrikes have killed 15 people, Brock. There's where the airstrikes happened. Brock was showing you this map last night. And now we know that 15 are dead. 4 of them were civilians. These airstrikes were done by Israel in all around Damascus, trying to take out Iranian supply chain. There's where the United States did an airstrike, and they killed 6 Al-Qaeda terrorists. Syria accused Israel of state terrorism after allegedly Israeli airstrike last night, Iranian military positions, and killed 15 people, including what they say are 6 civilians. We heard 4, and warned that it would change how it would respond to future airstrikes. Now, Israeli authorities are increasingly practicing state terrorism. Now, that's what Israel's saying, or Syria's saying. But there's the King Bibi. That's King Bibi, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, very strong militarily. He's on the phone, no doubt, with Trump. And maybe that's what this is all about. Maybe the Iranians are about to do something. According to the Assyrian Observer for Human Rights, 9 Syrian and foreign pro-government militia members were killed in the pre-dawn hours last night, as well as these 6 civilians. 21 other people were reported to have been injured, which struck targets around the capital of Damascus and homes, as well as the Syrian border with Lebanon. Bibi said, and that's still the question, will Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, will Israel strike Iran? U.S. on alert for imminent war as Iran crosses the nuclear red line. What's going on, Pastor? Well, Iran is making more enriched uranium than they ever agreed to, and obviously they're working toward the bomb. Prime Minister Netanyahu said way back 3 years ago at the United Nations, at the podium, he drew that bomb and that little red line and said, if they ever cross this red line, we will go in and preemptively take them out. They've crossed the red line now. They've crossed the red line. They admit they crossed the red line. Trump says Iran playing with fire right now by exceeding the enriched uranium limit. So Trump is already saying, you crossed the line. And Bibi said, if you do, I will hit you. And then Bibi goes in last night, the Israelis do, and blow up 6 different locations all around Damascus, while the Americans smack Al-Qaeda in Syria. But it is Israel that bombed Iranian forces in Syria. And the next question is Israel getting ready to strike Iran in Iran? And is that why the Vice President of the United States being sent back to the White House? Is that why Pence is on his way? For prayer, for counsel, for his opinion. Because maybe we're in a World War III type crisis, and I don't know the answer. And by the way, you have a total solar eclipse of the sun going to take place in about 4 hours. And really, what's really weird, it ends on that 444. Starts at 4:38 p.m. Eastern and ends at 4:44, the number of angels, and also the number of the door. Is the heavens about to open? Is Christ about to come? We don't know the day nor the hour, but the heavens certainly, when we see that, he said, the sun will be darkened and the moon will turn to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. And there's going to be a blood moon over Jerusalem at midnight on July 16th and 17th, July 7/17, during the midnight hour over Jerusalem and the Holy Land, while they're trying to do a peace agreement with the Middle East. And the Bible says when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh. And that's in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. What? Are we at the era of the Antichrist? Is the beast about to rise? Is the beast about to... Oh, and by the way, also on that blood moon, Mueller is going to testify before Congress. Just throw that out there for you. We need that like another hole in the head. But anyway, moving on, several Hezbollah fighters were killed in the airstrikes targeting the Iranian-linked bases near Homs, and at least 10 targets near Damascus, including 10 targets. I mean, Israel just waylaid them last night, all over Damascus. And the Bible says in Isaiah 17:1, the word of the Lord, the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is no longer a city, but becomes a ruinous heap. If there's one nation that could turn that city into a ruinous heap, it is Israel. And many people believe it will be Israel that does it in a retaliation on an attack toward them. There you see the map last night, all over Damascus. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? Satellite pictures released by Israeli intelligence show that the target in Jamara Institute was a hangar which was probably used for storage of advanced weapons systems or in another sensitive element which requires a mentioned accurate strike. Israel added that according to the media reports, the attack sites is related to Hezbollah and Iran. I repeat, Hezbollah and Iran. And according to reports, the airstrike Monday were the largest attacks by Israel in recent years, Brock. And they've hit these guys a lot of times over the last 2 years, but this was the most bombing they'd done in years. This guy says that if Israel strikes Iran, if the United States strikes Iran, Iran will eliminate Israel from the face of the earth in a half hour. That's Psalms 83. The Bible says they will say those very words, basically. Are you serious? But wait. Speaking also at an annual conference last night of national security, Mossad's chief, Yossi Cohen, said that Israel had no interest in a conflict with Syria, but we will not accept Iran's enrichment against us in Syria, or for Syria to serve as a logistic base for Iran to transport weaponry to Lebanon. So Israel's saying, guys, we don't have a fight with you at Syria. We don't want to fight with you, Syria. We're just not going to let Iran set up shop in your backyard. We're not going to let them enrich uranium in your backyard. We're not going to let them basically use your country for a logistic transport of weapons to Hezbollah. But there you see Qassem Soleimani, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard chief. Iran's ballistic missiles can easily strike carriers in the sea, speaking of the United States. What? The tensions can't be any higher right now. And the Vice President of the United States has just been summoned back to the White House. He was on Air Force Two, flying from Washington to Salem, New Hampshire for an opioid conference. He's been told, turn the plane around and come back to the White House ASAP because of an emergency, an undisclosed emergency. What does it mean? Is it an alien invasion? No! Israel's been carrying out airstrikes in the war-torn country against Hezbollah and Iran. I think this is huge that the head of Mossad, Chief Yossi Cohen, speaks. Brock, Mossad? Okay. Israeli officials have repeatedly voiced concerns over Iran's enrichment in Syria and the smuggling of sophisticated weaponry to Hezbollah from Iran to Lebanon via Syria, stressing that both are red lines for the Jewish state and that it will continue to operate when necessary. Due to these strikes, Israel has noticed a reduction in weapon shipments, a decrease of funds available to Iranian Revolutionary Guard and its core Quds Force Commander Qassem Soleimani. I'm highlighting his name, or his project in Syria, and a decline in militant fighters. That's Qassem Soleimani sandwiched in by some pastrami, maybe some pepperoni, even pickled bologna. It would make a good sandwich though, wouldn't it? A little pastrami, a little salami, a little pickled bologna. It really would. Is that kosher? That's just a question. I really don't know. Is salami kosher? Is salami made out of what kind of meat? Can we just, yeah, Cuban sandwich. I love Cuban sandwiches, by the way, but I don't think those are kosher. Wait, Pastor, you're the best. Okay, seriously. Yeah, pickles on the side. And I like honey mustard on that too. Wow, you talk about a sandwich. I'm sorry, you won't much longer. May God forgive you. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to offend nobody. Is it made of pork? I don't know. I'm asking, really. Honest to God, I'm asking. Salami's pork? Okay, I'm not a hypocrite, guys. I'm just asking. I really don't know. Is pork? Really? Wow. Well, I'm Irish. I don't know where I fit in this thing. Okay. The good thing I'm saved by grace. Anyway, let me move on. Israeli officials have repeatedly voiced concerns over Iran's enrichment Iran has also begun moving its assets. So everybody's getting in position. Why has Mike Pence been sent back to the White House? We'll come back to this story in a moment, okay? Put that right there on the top. Everybody calm down. I want to welcome all 2,300 of you, 2,354 of you that are live with us at YouTube plus everywhere else. This is a solar eclipse. The Vice President of the United States been summoned. Guys, and oh, by the way, lightning strike, Brock, lightning strike on Devil's Head in Colorado. A lightning strike hit Devil's Head in Colorado, injuring 8 hikers who were standing on top of Devil's Head in Colorado. Now, some of you folks that are in Colorado, you know right where that's at. And this is serious because we do have, there it is. That's Devil's Head. That's Devil's Head, Colorado. And a thunderbolt came down and hit Devil's Head. There were 8 climbers up there plus a dog. Now, 4 of the climbers are injured, 1 critically. The dog is fine. 1 person in critical condition. They had to pack him down. 7 others were also injured slightly, 3 of them a little worse than others. The dog never got hurt. The group was near at Devil's Head Lookout on Sunday afternoon when a lightning bolt came down and hit them. This is a serious situation that took place on Devil's Head in Colorado. A bolt of lightning came from nowhere and hit these 8 hikers, of which 7 were injured, 1 critically, 3 a little worse than the others. The dog did not get hurt. Oh, by the way, we have monsoon rains now pouring down in India. Unbelievable. Multiple walls collapsing in India. Monsoon rains. I repeat, multiple walls of the levee breaking. The levees are breaking. Multiple levee walls break. India monsoon. 31 are now dead. The death toll is expected to rise there in Mumbai. As the monsoons, the Mumbai roads are flooded, the train tracks waterlogged due to nature's fury. Heavy monsoon rains in western India caused at least 4 walls of the levees to break, collapsing huts and homes and city shanties. There you see it, guys. Killing 31, injuring dozens. Many are missing, and the death toll is expected to rise while the forecasters are calling for more rain. At least, 60 others injured. The 10-meter wall that holds back the urban forest collapsed during the night. Rescue teams and sniffer dogs are searching the area now to rescue and to recover bodies in what's insane situation taking place in Mumbai in India. All right? In India. So pray for these folks. Sammy just went back home. Matter of fact, that's what happened to me last night. I got off the air last night. What time did we get off the air last night? 11:30? And I had to take Sammy to catch his ride at 4 a.m. so that he could get a ride from there, take a shuttle on up to Chicago to catch his plane today as he's headed back to India. So I got back, and so basically I didn't sleep last night because I got back at 5 a.m. and I had to get up and get things going for today. So if I'm a little little shaky, you'll know why. If I'm drinking like tons of coffee, no wonder I got this big, huge Michigan cup. Brock, it can't be the top of the hour. Not yet. No, I got 5 more minutes. Wait. Because I'm not even close to getting started. I'm spending all this time on what looks like World War III and the solar eclipse and Mike Pence. Why did the vice president get sent back to Washington? We have breaking news again. Wait a minute. Back to that story. More info coming in. Vice President Mike Pence on Air Force Two, headed for Salem, New Hampshire for an opiates conference. was summoned back to the White House. Vice President Mike Pence's airplane diverted from New Hampshire back to Washington after being called back for an undisclosed emergency. Pence was scheduled to visit Salem today to participate in a roundtable discussion on opioid crisis and this illegal drug flow into New Hampshire. But before his plane could land, the announcer of the event came over the intercom and told the crowd Air Force Two has been diverted because of an emergency. We do not have the situation why the vice president will be called back to the White House, says Randy Gentry, a representative of Pence's office. He told the crowd, saying the event is being canceled. Guys, something's going on. The vice president's main job is to be ready to take the presidency. Everything else is just gravy with him. It's just good stuff. He helps. Thank God he's a great God-fearing man, a prayer warrior. But why is he being turned around? First of all, question is the President of the United States okay? That's question number one. I've got one person who has told us over at Periscope that the president's okay. But I have not heard. Now I'm hearing breaking. Putin's meeting with his defense ministers. Somebody just threw that up in the chat room. We got to verify this. Vladimir Putin has pulled out an event in Moscow. He's been summoned to an emergency meeting with his defense ministers. Putin and Pence both cancel meetings. Something's going on, guys. And I guarantee you it includes Israel and Iran. When we come back, Brock, seriously, I want you to do something with me, Brock. Do you have that video of Joe Hagman? That song? Okay, I really wish we did. I'd love to play that with, of course, the passing of Joe Hagman. And we'll play that probably tonight, where he helped me baptize 24 people in Geneva, Illinois. Not Geneva. Gurney, Illinois. Okay, we'll play that tonight in memory of Joe Hagman. Folks, Brock Kitts is a song. Can you play Jerusalem's Cry? No, okay. We'll be right back. Right after this song, we'll be right back. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see if I can get some-
They can take his name off the news. They can take his name out of prayer. But if they want to get to God, there's only one way there, that's through Jesus. Yes, the Lord's the only way. Through and by Jesus. He's the only way to God. Some say there's other ways, many ways to go. Why, you can be your own God. Let me tell you, no, that ain't so. It's Jesus. Yes, the Lord's the only way. Through and by Jesus. He's the only way to God. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is the door this world needs to step through tonight. When your time down here is ended and your work on earth is done and you're lying on your deathbed, where will you run? It'll be to Jesus. Yes, the Lord's the only way. Through and by Jesus. He's the only way to God. so they can take his name off the news, and they can take his name out of prayer. But if they want to be heard by God, there's only one way, there's Jesus. Yes, the Lord's the only way. Through Jesus is the only way to God. Yes, the Lord's the only way. Through and by Jesus, He's the only way to go.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Hour number 2. I don't know if I can get through everything in hour number 2. Let's get you up to the speed Mike Pence situation. We have more info on this. Mike Pence's plane returns to Washington, D.C. after being canceled due to an unspecified emergency. The Vice President of the United States, if I can get this ad out of my way and then get all that out of my way, maybe I can get that out of the way. Maybe I can get to the story. I don't know. Vice President Mike Pence has been summoned back to the White House in his plane, and now we're getting word that Putin has been called or has entered into some kind of a secret meeting as well. We're going to try to find out why. Mike Pence's plane unexpectedly returned to Washington, D.C. after an unexplained issue, an emergency. The vice president scrapped a planned event in New Hampshire, but White House officials called it an emergency and denied that it was an emergency. Now they're calling it a diversion. Yeah, okay, now you're hearing some of that softening, but that's not the case. A diversion, you don't call the vice president back to the White House, Brock, on Air Force Two in mid-flight for a diversion. Okay, there's something going on. Now, something came up that required the vice president to remain in Washington. What came up so big that the vice president has to cancel and turn the plane around? Air Force Two returned safely to Washington. No one has been injured. He was reportedly at the White House meeting already now with the president. Pence was planning to meet with the former patients in New Hampshire, in Manchester, New Hampshire, and to speak about the state opioid crisis. Pence suffered a scare when his campaign plane skidded off the runway at LaGuardia Airport just days before the 2016 presidential election. We remember that happening, but that's not what we're talking about here. We are discussing why. Guys, why did the the vice president of the United States, why was he summoned back on the day of a total solar eclipse back to the White House? What is going on? And what is the story with Putin? So give me just a moment, because we've already telling you that there's pressure building as it relates to Iran and the United States. Let me just get a quick update here with Putin and what we're hearing out of there. 1 second, guys. Putin is being summoned back due to the death of those sailors, they're saying. So he's having an emergency meeting with his defense ministers after the death of the sailors. You might say, what sailors? Well, let me get to that story. That's one of my stories that we wanted to get to. Here it is. 14 seamen, I repeat, 14 seamen dead in a fire in a Russian deep sub. I repeat, 14 Navy sailors, Russian sailors, have died as 14 were in a deep submersible sub caught on fire under the water, and they are dead, okay? And now Putin has been sent back. Putin is now having a meeting with his defense ministers, but some people are saying that this is not what this meeting is about, that this is maybe part of the cover for the meeting. But again, I can't answer that question if that's was exactly why Putin is holding a special high-level ranking meeting with his defense ministers. Is it over these 14 sailors killed in the submarine, or is it about this some kind of a crisis, an emergency reason why Vice President Mike Pence, why in the world would you turn Air Force Two around midair back to Washington because you need Pence for a meeting? Look, guys, if you needed him for a meeting, he would have already been scheduled for the meeting. And oh, by the way, the president had no meeting scheduled today. So obviously something's going on. The president has to call a special emergency meeting, and the vice president's in Air Force Two, and he's in the air, going to land in New Hampshire, and all of a sudden they come over the loudspeaker, event canceled. The Air Force Two has been turned back around to Washington for an unspecified emergency. So what's going on? Does anybody know what's really going on? But wait, there's more. While this is all going on, it's snowing in Finland. What? This is July. It's snowing in Finland while the rest of Europe, it's 114 degrees in Paris, France. Somebody help me understand what's going on. And oh, by the way, a bunch of rats jumped to their death. 500 rats in Holland ran through a drainage pipe and jumped over a ledge and killed themselves in Holland. But look at this. This is Finland. Look at this. This is Finland. That's Finland. Bart, that's Finland. I don't get it. Okay, so we got a snow blizzard in Finland, and it's 114 degrees in Paris. Can anybody say climate change or climate rearranged or climate Al Gore deranged or what? What? Planet X, Nibiru, Planet X. Brock, is that pictures from Finland? Are you serious? He's shaking his head. Yeah, that's today. What? Most of Europe is suffering from record heat except Finland as the temperatures hit 0 degrees Celsius, that's 32 degrees, and a snow blizzard is falling in an incredible situation in Finland. 114 degrees in Paris yesterday. Record-breaking heat continues to bake all of Europe except Finland, where it's a blizzard of snow simultaneously. Has anybody got a clue what's going on here? What in the world? Is this Planet X? Is this Nibiru? But wait, there's more. In Minnesota, hailstorm of biblical proportion has destroyed thousands of acres in the state of Minnesota. Okay? Massive hailstorm destroying the crops. Farmers are just walking around. There you see it. This is another plague from the Bible, Brock. It was a mighty hailstorm that destroyed the crops. It was one of the plagues of Egypt. So let me see if I got this right. We've had locusts at Mecca, locusts in Saudi Arabia, locusts in Iran, locusts along the Red Sea, locusts in Italy headed toward Rome. We've had massive Beelzebub flies, a plague of biblical proportion also in Russia. We've got Ebola in the Congo that's killed over 2,000 people. We have hailstorm in Minnesota destroying the crops, another plague. The waters turned blood red near the island of the Straits of Hormuz between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and that's not a clue. We got a total solar eclipse of the sun today. We got a blood moon coming over at midnight over the Holy Land coming up. And we had 6.5 feet of hail in Mexico yesterday. What is that? 6.5 feet? What? Mexico, it's hot in Mexico. Can somebody say climate change? Brock, the heavens are shaking. The earth is quaking. My mind is aching. And we told you all of this. Guys, where's it at? Where's it at? Do you have your copy of The Heavens Are Shaking? It was released from Cincinnati. We told you. Released from Cincinnati, a 4-part DVD set on the end times. Planet X, Nibiru, the seas rising, the pole shift, Clyde Lewis, John Moore, Stephen Ben-Danoon, and myself, bringing forth dynamic information relevant to the last days. You can get this 4-part DVD set at my website or individually at my Patreon channel. The heavens are shaking. This is a must-see. Get it now. Here's what we wrote on the back of this so that people will understand why this was so important. The headlines are full of information, the disinformation on Planet X, Nibiru, planet number 9. Disasters are increasing, hurricanes, floods, tsunamis, volcanoes, tornadoes, hail, violent lightning at Devil's Head in Colorado. The ecosystems, the changing with the fish, the birds, the bats, the cattle are dying. Disease is disseminating throughout the animals and humans alike. But one thing we can all be in agreement is something biblical is going on. Pastor Paul, that's me, has invited 3 experts to dissect, to analyze, to scientifically and biblically the events that we have been witnessing and expect to intensify on a global scale. This is the most important DVD released from a conference ever on this subject, Planet X. Matter of fact, nobody even has conferences on this subject because they know they don't know what to do with it. But I simply read the Bible. The Bible told you that the events of these scriptures, the Bible told you this is what was going to happen in the last days, and this is exactly what's happening and intensifying as we go forward, including that little green file that I got from Stephen Ben-Danoon. And we've got more of this to release. I've got one video on my Patreon channel right now releasing some more of this information. I've got more I'm going to be doing. So check it out soon at Patreon. If you haven't seen the one that's on Patreon, you need to see that. That'll help you understand what's going on. But wait, there's more, Brock. Besides the hailstorm in Minnesota, there's floodwaters raging in Minnesota. It rained 8 inches of rain in the Zumbro River, wiping and sweeping away 40 cattle in the floodwaters in the Zumbro River after 8 inches of rain fell in 1 hour in Minnesota. That's after the hail fell. What? And then of course, that's 6.5 feet of hail in Mexico. And it's snowing in Finland, and it's 114 degrees in Paris. All of Europe is baking from the scorching of the sun, except in Finland, they're in a blizzard. Guys, this is extreme weather condition. This is exactly what we said was coming in the last days, that the Bible said would come. Here it is in your face. And yet monsoon rains in India. 31 people are dead. Lightning strikes Devil's Head in Colorado. Hits 8 hikers, injures 7 of them. 1 of them critically had to be carried down. The dog's okay. And then we've got wars and rumors of wars. But wait, there's more. China is now getting in the act. China lashes out today against the United States and against Britain in the Hong Kong protest. Boy, I tell you what, this is getting ugly. Check out that lightning. Yeah, well, that's not the exact lightning bolt, but that's what Brock's trying to portray for you, is a bolt of lightning came out of nowhere. But wait, there's more. Is Planet X, Nibiru, wormwood? It's the biblical wormwood. Oh, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about the mark of the beast. Nobody wants to talk about the Antichrist. Nobody wants to talk about the red heifer. Nobody wants to talk about wormwood. Nobody wants to talk about the third temple. Nobody wants to talk about it. But Hong Kong is in trouble, folks. The people, look at this. They took over the council building. They took over the government. Look at this. Did you see that flag, Brock? That's the British flag. That's the Hong Kong British flag. They're taking it over. China lashes out at the United States and Britain. Look at this. Stay calm. Drink coffee. Don't shoot. China lashes out the United States and Britain for gross interference, they said, in the Hong Kong protests. What are we doing? We haven't done nothing wrong. We're not interfering. In what China's foreign ministry spokesman Qin Shangang slammed as an ugly act of hypocrisy, Beijing slammed London and Washington for meddling in their domestic affairs. Does it look like we got anything to do with that? That's not us meddling. Those dudes are upset at the President Xi trying to cram communism down the throat of the people of Hong Kong. That is not my problem. I did not do it. I'm not causing it. I'm just not causing the problems that's being caused out there. Okay? I'm just not doing it. Don't blame me, and don't blame the President of the United States, and don't blame Theresa May. She can't even meddle her way out of the EU. She surely is not meddling with Hong Kong. It looks like Hong Kong wants to Brexit. What would that be called, Brock? What would that be called, Bart? If Hong Kong pulls out of China, is that a Hexit? I think they should. I think they should just go ahead and declare their independence and just remain independent like Taiwan. And is she going to send in the Red Army and shoot a bunch of people in the streets? Is that what he's going to do? That'll go real well with the trade war. I wonder maybe then if some of the folks that are fighting Trump will finally agree with Trump that communism is kind of like brutal. I'm not going to go there. Let's not talk about. No, I'm not talking about any political people. I'm talking world. I only talk about biblical events. I take a look at current events, how they relate to the Bible. I won't talk politics. I won't, because these guys are just it's a joke anymore. Beijing's Hong Kong office very upset, calling the United States and the British hypocrites for meddling in their domestic affairs. Also, Beijing's Hong Kong Macau Affairs Office blasted Britain, along with the U.S. and the European Union, by the way, for their position on Hong Kong and accusing them of generating fake news. Brock, show 2 million people upset at President Xi, and then tell me if I say they're upset at... Show some pictures, Brock. If I say the people of Hong Kong are upset, that's not fake news. Okay, do you see how many people's in the street? Do you understand what 2 million people look like angry? That's not fake news, President Xi. That's not fake news. Once again, we warn all countries to be careful not to interfere in Hong Kong's domestic affairs. I'll try not to interfere. Hong Kong, get out of China. Break it off. Build a fence. Do something. President Trump just signed a $4.6 billion humanitarian aid bill to fund efforts at the border with Mexico. Nancy Pelosi finally caves, giving the president at least $4.6 billion to help with this crisis that has developed due to the overflow of immigrants and the bad laws. Okay. Sri Lanka police chief has just been arrested. Remember the shooting during Easter Sunday? Sri Lanka's police chief was arrested over the Easter attacks. I guess they think he's in on it. No. Sri Lanka's police chief and top defense officials have been arrested over their alleged failures to prevent the Easter Sunday bombings that killed more than 250 people who were worshiping Jesus Christ on Resurrection Sunday. The bombings on April 21st, claimed by the ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, took place despite repeat warnings from Indian intelligence that an attack was imminent. Inspector generals and former defense secretaries were arrested today. Got a solar eclipse going on, guys. A day after the Attorney General said they should be arrested and charged with grave crimes against humanity for failing to prevent these attacks on these churches and luxury hotels. Both men were at different hospitals undergoing treatments when it happened. Okay. That's what's going on. Oh, by the way, the EU is going to have to put somebody else in charge, and they're looking at the former German defense minister as maybe the EU leader. They can't find anybody to run the European Union. President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, says that woman right there should be promoted to Germany's defense minister. Her name was Ursula von der Leyen, as a potential successor maybe to Jean-Claude Juncker as head of the European Commission. But close ally of Chancellor Angela Merkel said Ursula von der Leyen may become the European Commission president, while the IMF head Christine Lagarde may take the place of the president of Germany. And remember, Angela Merkel right now is having a real hard time. She's got a lot of shaking going on. She's had 2 different events with this, and it's really serious. We don't know what it is. Our prayers are going out to her. We don't know what is happening there, but she may have to step down. So is the EU, is it tattered? Is the EU shattered? Is the EU scattered? Does the EU matter? And is this woman now going to be the head of the EU? Could she be the next leader of the European Union? I don't know. Okay. But it seems like the EU just is in such a disarray now. Such a disarray. It's unbelievable. Guys, again, we've got all kinds of crazy things going on, but I want to go back to the main story today. Of course, don't forget the blood moon. And oh, by the way, don't forget, what about signs in the heavens? We're going to find out why Mike Pence has been summoned back to Washington. Yeah, Portland, Oregon's out of control, Brock. I don't even know if you know that. That's gotten so ugly, but that's another story. But in Syria, let me just say this. Syria is accusing Israel of state terrorism because they're going in and bombing Iranians and Hezbollah. Last night, Israel hit at least 10 different locations all around Damascus, blowing up warehouses and convoys of where sophisticated weaponry was being stored. They were trying to smuggle this stuff into Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Israeli fighter jets went in and just bombed it. 16 Iranians were killed, 4 were civilian, and 21 others were injured in this airstrikes by the Israeli Air Force. And Israel admits they did it. Matter of fact, the United States simultaneously was bombing other locations in Syria, killing 6 Al-Qaeda terrorists. Is this why Mike Pence has been summoned back to the White House? Mike Pence, on his way to an opioid crisis meeting in Salem, New Hampshire, had to turn Air Force 2 around in mid-flight and fly back to Washington, where he was summoned to the White House for an emergency situation. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin has called an emergency meeting with his defense, the leaders of his defense department. But we're hearing that the reason he did was because 14 of the Russian sailors burn up underwater in a submarine. And so they're not trying to say that he's called an emergency meeting at the same time that apparently Donald Trump is calling a meeting. They're trying to say his meeting's for a separate reason. We don't know why Mike Pence has been summoned back to the White House. Now let me read to you what other reports are coming in about Pence. We'll get right up to the minute with this. Give me just a second. Everybody's wondering now what's going on with Pence. Why was he called back? What is the story with this? And I might be able to find out something from one of my, give me 1 second here. Now the White House is trying to say, wait, it's not an unspecified emergency. It's an unspecified diversion. I just don't think you call the Vice President of the United States back and turn Air Force 2 around for a diversion. There's something seriously happening, especially when the president had no meeting scheduled. Okay? Now Yahoo News is getting in the act. 3 minutes ago, Reuters is saying U.S. Vice President Mike Pence abruptly canceled his planned trip to New Hampshire today after being called back to the White House for an unspecified reason. Now the words went from emergency to diversion to reason. So you got to watch the media. Pence's chief of staff, Mark Short, told Reuters there is no emergency after news reports said the vice president's plane was called back for an unspecified emergency. Then why'd they turn the plane around? The White House would not say what issue arose to keep Pence in place. A senior administration official said there was no medical issue involving, see, I told you it's about the president. No medical issue involving Vice President Pence or President Donald Trump. See, that's his number one job. Something came up that required the vice president to remain in Washington. There's no cause for concern. Everybody's fine, said the White House spokesman Hogan Gidley. But Pence had been scheduled to be in New Hampshire to speak with former patients and others at the Granite Recovery Center and Addition Treatment Facility, his official scheduled show. Okay? So Brock, now the word is it's no longer an unspecified emergency. It went from that to an unspecified diversion to now an unspecified reason. The president is fine, so it wasn't because the president was sick and it wasn't because the vice president got sick. And now they're saying that he was just required to be at a meeting, but there were no meetings scheduled on the president's docket today. He was taking a day off, just getting back from, South Africa, Japan and South Korea. Meanwhile, we do have an issue called the Great Conjunction. What? Guys, I want to say this. December 21st, 2020. Write it down. December 21st, 2020. Write it down again. The Great Conjunction. December 21st, my birthday. It's not the end of the world like the Mayan calendar said it was. Remember, they said it was December 21st, 2012? Nope. It's December 21st, 2020. On the winter solstice, there's going to be the Great Conjunction because Jupiter and Saturn will come the closest together they have been in not only 397 years, but in almost 800 years. Now, I've done an extensive, exclusive video on this at Patreon. You'll need to watch it there because if I put it on YouTube, it would be considered fear-mongering or scare tactics or whatever else. They got a new set of rules now. So even though everything I put in that video is factual, it's over at Patreon. It's an exclusive on it. You'll want to know why. And so what I do is I tell you what happened on past situations, but then I tell you about why is this day so important and what could it mean when it comes forward on December 21st, 2020, okay? So it's on my Patreon channel. Check it out. I put it up about a couple of days ago. Mike around the world told us that we was going to see all kinds of different signs in the heavens, but Planet X, Nibiru, what have you, all of this was going to create issues and problems. Right now, wars, rumors of wars are high on our list. This total solar eclipse, we have a blood moon coming on July 16th at midnight, at the midnight hour, over Jerusalem, over the entire Holy Land. Jared Kushner's trying to do his thing, okay, with the peace deal. And what's really amazing, all the financial guys love it. Yes, there it is, the great South American eclipse that's over Washington. It's going to be over Argentina and Chile. And we just showed you that both those countries just had earthquakes just a few hours now. It's 3 hours away. The total solar eclipse is going to happen at 4:38 p.m. Eastern and will last till 4:44 p.m. Eastern. It's a 6-minute solar eclipse, and already earthquakes hit. I told right there, there's where the path of the eclipse is. And then here's the path of the last two earthquakes. It's still the last two earthquakes, Brock. Check it out. There you see it. There's the eclipse. Now he's going to show you where the last two earthquakes hit. Right in this path. Before it happened, that watch out for earthquakes because of this solar eclipse. Not as bad as blood moons. Lunar eclipses are worse. You have more gravitational pull on lunar eclipses. But look it out. Look at this. You see the little dot right there? That's Chile, just had a 4.0, and that's Argentina, just had a 4.1. Look where they both are, in the exact path of the total solar eclipse that's going to come through there in the next 3 hours. Unbelievable that's the last two quakes. 4.0, Chile, 4.1, Argentina, and that's exactly where the solar eclipse is going to go right through the totality. That is quite amazing that happened. And that happened while we're sitting here on the air live doing this broadcast. It's as if it's almost like you can understand that the signs of the last days are all around us. Will Israel, look, Iran's threatening to blow Israel off the face of the map. That is right out of the pages of Psalms 83. Exactly what it says that they would say about Israel. They said, come, let us, wipe them off the face of the earth. Let us make Israel no more in remembrance. Let's just wipe them out. This is Psalms 83, okay? The very nations that it says in the book of Ezekiel 38, they're going to make up the Gog and Magog war. That's all going to happen. They're all there, okay? They're there. Iran, Russia, Turkey, they're all there, okay? Plus Ethiopia, plus the problems, and also Libya. They're all there, plus others, okay? You got the Iranian crisis right now. Iran is staring down Israel. United States is staring down Iran. China's playing games. Everybody's in a tizzy. Everybody's up in arms. And the president's walking around with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Whoever heard of a title like that? All this stuff's going on right now. The signs of the end times are upon us. The end of days. And some people say, well, I don't want to hear about the end of days. I don't care about the end of days. You need to wake up and realize, I don't know how much time we got. Nobody knows, okay? It could be 100 years. It could be 50 years. It could be 25 years. It could be 12. It could be 6. It could be 3. Do you know? But one thing you do know, the signs that are in the last days are happening so unbelievably now. Floodwaters. Lightning strikes, hailstorms, monsoons, typhoons, blood moons. Jesus is coming soon. All of it taking place. And now we're in this time of, I think, great recognition, great understanding that in these last days, these things will come. Some of you are wondering, will there be World War III? Well, the Bible says there will be a World War III. No doubt about that. Where millions are killed. So, you know, every time you see all these nations and everybody's getting up on edge and Iran's now enriching uranium. I mean, look, all of this, the more people that are playing with the potential with nukes, the more dangerous the world gets. And then there's new weaponries, new laser beams, new satellite weapons, the rod of God, and new poisons and bio weaponry, and just it's really getting a brand new DVD, Blood Moons and Prophetic Signs. We're taking a very close look at the historical, biblical, and prophetic signs in the Bible, from the solar eclipses to the blood moons to the midnight hour of these the last days. What does the heavens mean by shaking, the earthquakes, and other events going on? Get this DVD. Get it now at my website. We might have some breaking news coming out of Israel right now. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. One second. Brock, would you play Heavens Are Shaky one more time? I think we have breaking news come out of Israel. Released from Cincinnati, a 4-part DVD set on the end times. Planet X, Nibiru, The Seas Rising, The Pole Shift, Clyde Lewis, John Moore, Stephen Ben-Danoon, and myself, bringing forth dynamic information relevant to the last days. You can get this 4-part DVD set at my website or individually at my Patreon channel. The heavens are shaking. This is a must-see. Get it now. Okay, guys, we have breaking news coming out of Israel. Brock, breaking news. Breaking news coming out of Israel. We have breaking news coming out of Israel. According to the Israeli Defense Forces Facebook page,